Okay. I got a comment from a guy called, is it Charles Banks or something like that? But anyways, yeah. And you called me, this fucking nigga is an idiot or whatever, and it doesn't really bother me, and I'll explain why. You are right. You know, we shouldn't be blaming um, the West for the problems that we have in our own country, because, in all true respect, as Zimbabwe stands, it's an independent country. As it being an independent country, this is just food for thought. As it's an independent country, it has a choice to decide whether it's going to be run as a dictatorship or a democracy. Now, why I say it is not the British fault, I blame them for the things that have happened, but the true fault lies in us, the people of Zimbabwe, for allowing these things to happen to us. We gave them permission to abuse us. No one abuses anyone without giving someone permission. For instance, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're to have a bully and a nerd, right? Now, the bully comes there and says, "Give me your packed lunch, or I'll beat the shit out of you," right? Then you've got the little nerd, the little geek. He comes up and says, "Okay, I don't want to get beaten." Yes, it might seem like, okay, the little geeky nerd had no choice in the matter, or either he'll suffer injury. You could also look at the flip side, that if this geeky nerd had built enough courage to only be able to provide, to give resistance to the bully wouldn't be so enticed in taking the nerd's lunch, because of the fact that he knows he's going to get a bit of resistance, which is not as entertaining to face with as easy prey. So basically, we have made ourselves easy prey, so we are to blame on that aspect. But when I look at the situation in Zimbabwe, as I've said in some of my other videos, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to delete it soon, but Zimbabwe is split into two. It's got internal problems and external problems. The external problems are pretty obvious. The sanctions, A, B, and C, and as a country, it's struggling to stand on its 2 feet. Internal problems are obviously the corrupt ministers, the selfish need, the greed, and all that bullshit. Don't think I have necessarily ignored those aspects of the scenario. It's just that I was focusing on one aspect of it. I could have focused on the internal aspects of it, right? And that would be an endless story. But the truth of the matter is that we're pushing blame onto someone else. The truth of the matter is that we are meant to take responsibility of our blames for our scenario and situation in Zimbabwe. It's easy to blame someone else. The toughest thing is for someone saying, "Okay, fine, shit is messed up, now let's take control." I was just basically highlighting the certain problems that are there. The solution in true respect is for the people of Zimbabwe to really say, this is our responsibility, this is our problem. Now, another aspect of my argument also was not necessarily with, you see, it's wrong, it'll be so wrong for me to blame the British, because a lot of the British are naive themselves to the fact. Let's call them manipulators. I blame the manipulators, and fortunately or unfortunately, they come from the West, right? They're the ones that manipulate their own people. In turn, their own people manipulate the rest of the world. So we can't necessarily just blame the West, okay? What I mean is, I blame the manipulators, the people who manipulate the whole scenario. And it's hard for me to explain to someone like you how Zimbabwe is, what the situation is. Yes, it's dire, it's problematic, but we should look at the the systems we're using within the country, and if you look at the grounded systems, let's look at it this way. The laws we use, majority, are British based. The way we just use our basic roads is British based. The structure of our educational system is British based. The structure of our monetary system is British based. Basically, the whole infrastructure is based on our colonial past. Now, the problem is this: as long as we are using all our infrastructure based on that, Zimbabwe will never ever be freed from a sense of dependency. It will never. It will be dependent because it's dependent on a system that's not their own. They can pretend that it's theirs, but it's not. It's like, how can I put it? Like having a very, very fancy computer system, right? That has come all the way from Japan. You have this nice computer system, but when it breaks down, when it gets messed up, because you are not the architect of this particular system, you cannot fix this problem. So what do you immediately do? You go and you take this particular gadget back to Japan, and that's dependency, because you're still dependent on the designer of the architect system. And that's the way Zimbabwe is, and that's really where my problems in the situation in Zimbabwe has matured to. Consider I made those videos quite some time back too, but that's where the situation has matured to. That we're still focused on using the British system, especially the monetary system, which is a really, really crippling system if you do understand it. I'll send you some links if you want them on how the system works, and to make you understand that yet the capitalistic system is being promoted as correct. It is not so correct. I'm not saying that people, as soon as you say capitalistic, they think, okay, what's the opposite alternative, and then they think, oh, a socialist or whatever. No, I'm not saying that. All those systems, but there must be a system that's a lot better than the capitalistic system and the communist system or the socialist system. There must be a middle ground. There must be a system that people can grow on and develop themselves on. And our educational system, the way it's structured, it's indoctrination. That's the British system. Instead of self-creativity, which we need to actually be promoting in Zimbabwe more, we should be promoting more research. We should be promoting more development. And if you say money, I'm sorry, the illusion of money has passed me, because money is either ones and zeros, meaning binary number, which is what we see on the screen when we go to an ATM machine, or it's Xeroxed, it's printed. So the illusion of money doesn't come into play here, right? What comes into play is how we use the machines that we carry in our heads, which are our brains, how we exercise these. And if the people of Zimbabwe and the governments can make this happen for every person in Zimbabwe